We will now be moving on to the dialogue session with the Higher Education Minister, moderated by our very own adjunct professor, Mr. Khairy Jamaluddin. A stalwart advocate for youth empowerment and development, Mr. Khairy Jamaluddin has championed initiatives that aim to harness the potential of our younger generation. With a background that blends academia, business and public service, Mr. Khairy Jamaluddin brings a wealth of experience and a diverse perspective to the challenges and opportunities facing our nation. He is also a well-known podcaster on Keluar Sekejap, a podcast that discusses current issues in the nation. Let us extend a warm welcome to Mr. Khairy Jamaluddin as we look forward to gaining insights, inspiration, and collaborative solutions from this high-impact dialogue.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And very good afternoon. How's everyone doing? We have reached the highlight of this afternoon, which is a special dialogue session with the Honorable Minister for Higher Education, Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul. Before I invite the Minister to once again grace us with his presence on stage, allow me to say a few words about our Honorable Minister, about my observations of his career as a politician and a policymaker, so that we can get insight into his vision for higher education here in Malaysia. Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul has been in politics for many, many decades. He was the 11th Chief Minister or Menteri Besar of the great state of Perak. Prior to that, he served in the Executive Council of the state government of Perak. His experience is not limited to state administration. Following the last general election, Datuk Seri Dr. Zambry was elevated to the federal cabinet and given one of the great offices of state at the foreign ministry. He was made foreign minister at a time of tumultuous geopolitical change globally, and a couple of months ago, he was redesignated as the Minister for Higher Education. I've known Dr. Zambry for many, many years as a colleague and as a mentor. And I've always felt that the Ministry for Higher Education is a natural home for him. He is, first and foremost, an academic. He has a PhD in political thought from Temple University, Pennsylvania, United States. He lectured at the University of Islam Antarabangsa International Islamic University. He is known not just as a policymaker, but as a man of ideas, as somebody who thinks deeply about not just his work, but also the power of ideas. I remember when he served as the Chief Minister of Menteri Besar of Perak, he launched what was known as the Pangkor Dialogue. And that was a signature program of his demonstrating thought leadership as the chief executive of a very important industrialized state. Today, we are privileged to be able to listen to Dr. Zambry explain a little bit more about his vision for higher education in Malaysia, to maybe answer some tough questions, not just from me, but also from the audience, and we'll allow for 15 minutes or so for you to grill the minister. and for us to try to understand a little bit better how private education in Malaysia can assist and help Dr. Zambry in executing his vision as the Minister for Higher Education. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure, privilege and honor to invite Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul, Minister for Higher Education, once again on stage. Please, sir. Datuk Seri, I don't know if you've ever seen my podcast, but the format for this afternoon is largely the format of the podcast. We'll try to take it easy. I'll lull you into some easy questions first, and then I'll throw you some really tough ones after. I wanted to start, Datuk Seri, with a really exciting 12 months that you've had as our nation's chief diplomat, and now as the person that has been entrusted with the unenviable task of designing the future for our country. I've always seen the Ministry of Higher Education as a very important, not just an important education, a social ministry, but an important economic ministry, because this is where we determine and chart the way forward for our young people and how we build talent for the future. But before we go into that, can you please share with us perhaps the experience over the last 12 months as our country's top diplomat? As the Minister for Foreign Affairs, you went through the continuation of a war in Ukraine, the genocide that's happening in Palestine, and how has it been to transition from Wisma Putra, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to your natural home, which is the Ministry of Higher Education? Please, sir.
Thank you, KJ, for first, thank you very much for putting such a nice word about me. That make me even more scared to answer the question to all of you. But this is quite interesting. It's a journey for me, I consider, I suppose, because of first, unexpectedly, I was given the task to head the foreign ministry. Something that I was not informed earlier on. And throughout that 1 year, really enriched my experience in handling and knowing more about the world, the global issues, and where Malaysia is positioned within the world's new geopolitics and also geoeconomy. So, and one of our challenging, the real challenging task, very challenging task at that time was to how we can rebuild Malaysia's positions internationally or globally. So as such, I have to call members of, within the Wisma Putra, as well as those with the experienced diplomat who used to be a diplomat before, and by engaging them to know, I cannot, assume myself to know of knowing everything about foreign policy. So in all humility, I get all these people around and to advise me on what next, what to do with this foreign policy of Malaysia. And finally, we, alongside with all the issues cropping up from time to time, it is not only related to Ukraine issues, not only related to the later on Gaza's issues, but also in our regional issues, such as Southeast, South China Sea issues and the competitions between the great powers. That's something we have to address this. But finally, over the last 1 year, to be exact, 1 year and 1 week, then we really play quite a rigorous, foreign policy in order to rebuild the image of the country internationally. And with the help of the Prime Minister together, because he is having his own international standing, that makes my jobs easier. So, in other words, briefly, I can share with you that that's so much experience gained from this Uh, and of course, with the new responsibility, I have to re-look into my actual role. Of course, because it belongs to two different ministry. However, some people say that this is not sufficient for you to spend only for 1 year at the ministry. But it's nation call because the prime ministers feel that I need to help on the domestic issues, which requires more attention for now. So, as a obedient servant of the prime minister of administration, I have to say yes to it. And then, of course, as you rightly mentioned, that this is part of back to my, original tasking that's supposed to take up in the first place.
Datuk Seri, when we think of Malaysia on the international stage, I think it's fair to say that Malaysia always projects itself above its weight. We're a middle power, but we're respected. We play an outsized role, not just in ASEAN, but also amongst Muslim countries, at the United Nations. We are well respected in that regard. When it comes to attracting foreign students to Malaysia to study here, we have a similar reputation, a country that has become a destination for students from all over the world to come here to study. So in one sense, I see your new appointment as the Minister of Higher Education as an extension of selling Malaysia to the world. What do you think is Malaysia's advantage now, positioned as such, as a destination for education, a destination for research, and as a destination for young people from around the world to come here to study?
Well, it all depends on the right policy that we are promoting to the rest of the world, especially to the South countries, to these Muslim countries, because you have to be focused on what actually you want to do, and and which countries that you really want to attract them to come and to study here, especially those students. Of course, we have been receiving throughout during my time as a foreign minister. We receive a lot of inquiries, applications. Students want to come to Malaysia. But of course, there are some, hindrances here and there. But of course, we have to lend our ears to for all the problems brought up to our attentions. And we have identified all that issues. And even for your information, the government has set up the National Review Committee. I think you are quite familiar with that. During your time as a cabinet members, to look into all these grouses and also views as well from students all over the world, because there is so much demand actually to come to study to Malaysia. So what we are doing now is trying to bring interministerial cooperation instead of focusing into one ministry. Like, for example, Ministry of Higher Education alone should not take up certain, responsibilities to solve the problem of, immigration issues, for example.
Yeah.
Getting visas is one of the examples. So we are trying to work out because as much as the demand is there, yeah, it is there. It is not an issue at all, I could say, at this stage. But I think we need to work harder in order to ease the processes to come to study in Malaysia.
I think that's great reassurance. Maybe if I could just grill you on that a little bit. One of the feedback that we get from international students who want to come to Malaysia or who are in Malaysia, they find it very welcoming. They love being here in Malaysia, but they wish that some of the processes are easier. And of course, we have a one-stop window through EMGS, but they're saying that it still takes too long. And when they want to extend their student permit from one stage of education to another stage of it takes a long time to have to reapply again. Can we look forward to big changes during your time, sir?
Sure.
In streamlining this.
Sure. This is the thing. I have collected all this information for your information, the KJ. In my, conversation with some of the ministry, with some of the embassies here, because my relation with them is rather, quite intact, close. So they always call me from time to time, to voice out their problems, with regard to the application of their students to come to Malaysia. And I've been working there. In fact, in the first week, what I did was to call for EMGS to brief me about the role. Of course, number one, I got to know, I have to know to be brief about the role and functions of EMGS. And of course, along the way, I raised this, some of the issues, repeated issues raised to us. And well, what they said to me is this. They said, as far as EMGS is concerned, any applications come in, they said within 2 weeks will be settled. Except, I think some of you are aware of that issues of if the documentation is not complete, then you have to come back. That might take some time. And most of the issues raised, by some of the students is very much related to the documentation, because documentation from country to country is different, because some, they require certain, so for example, to verify your qualification, certificate of qualification, all that, from country to country, they will put up a different assessment. So that's the only issue that we have to address. Other than that, I know for the fact, some people say this the issues of immigration, applying visas take so much time. And what we did now, the government is a bit proactive after understanding this. We have to send the application passing from one department to another. And the government already decided to put all relevant department agencies into one. And if immigration issues, for example, if we put immigration in together with the EMGS in processing the application together, not after EMGS did it, and then of course later on we pass to the immigration, which will take another a week or so. What we're doing now, everything will be processed together in the presence of the immigration officers as well.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to a lot of changes to make it much easier and streamlined. Sir, we speak about prospective students who come here. What about students who've studied here? Now, the government has tried to provide a little bit more flexibility for students who've studied here to stay on for a year to work. As you know, the global war for talent is very, very fierce. People attracting professionals to come to their countries to become expats, to become experts. Do you think that the government will liberalize more approvals for foreign students who studied in Malaysia to stay on as professionals?
Yeah, thanks for raising that question, KJ, because I believe that was also one of the issues discussed during your time, because we are facing these issues of brain drain for a very long time. Most of the students, they go for greener pastures, especially in Singapore. Sorry for mentioning Singapore, though. Of course, we are going to the better places to go. And of course, some of the countries, they allow for 1 or 2 years especially in the medical field, for them to pursue, to stay for 1 or 2 years to gather more experience from there. And we did discuss this matter. I think under the National Review Committee also, we also, discuss on the possibility, which area that we really want to focus on. But it must come in line with the current problems that we are facing in terms of, providing the opportunities, the job opportunities, and also on the demand from the industries.
Sir, thank you for making UCSI University your first private university that you're visiting as the Minister for Higher Education. As you know, Datuk Peter Ng has built UCSI from very, very small, humble beginnings to now globally one of the top 1% ranked universities under the QS International ranking. So I wanted to ask you, how and what is your vision for private universities, what is known as IPTSs, in Malaysia to contribute towards nation building? For many, many years, private universities are seen as a foreign currency earner, bringing foreign students here. But now they are contributing above and beyond that in research, in providing scholarship. Their academics are regularly contributing to the government and to nation building. And yet there's always been seen this dichotomy between the private universities and the public universities. How can we increasingly blur the lines between the two so the private universities like UCSI can contribute more towards nation building and towards research and development?
My conversation with the IPTS presidents and CEOs during my first week after the appointment, I listened to them also. They have, this is one of the issues actually they posed to me to reconsider on the collaboration, especially in research and innovations. And I can agree with you on the point that the existence of the IPTS in private universities in Malaysia has grown up for quite some time. I think they have reached the maturity levels, and even the programs offered by the IPTS, they have so many IPTS here, offering some of the research and innovations activities. So I brought these issues actually in my discussion with the ministry. In fact, the ministry has done all the necessary assessment on the future undertaking, especially to have these collaborations between IPTA or our public university, private university, as well as possible if there is any government initiative and if government asks us to conduct certain studies. This is what they call the triple helix models that we have to come up to get everyone together. I don't think now we can live in isolation by segregating the university's position with this is on this is private, this is public. No, I don't think so. We need to have that because some of the expertise may be available in the private university. So KJ, we are going to do that. Yeah, we have to bring both parties, both groups together, and we plan together for the benefit of the country.
So the other thing is for private university operators in Malaysia, coming to the budget cycle for 2025, I think would be a request for the Minister of Higher Education to see if any incentives could be given. For instance, UCSI gives almost 30 million ringgit worth of scholarships. Yeah. That scholarships, grants for research and development, I think in excess of 2 million so far. Can they also qualify for tax incentives to encourage the growth of scholarships and R&D in the private universities?
That similar question posed to the Prime Minister recently. PM, I think, is
I'm asking the guy who's going to decide.
Yeah. But of course, at the first meeting they had with me, also the same question they posed. And I think, Professor, you're aware of that question, though. And now, the answer, I think if you still remember, the Prime Minister says this. We have to really look into the nature of your contributions. Say, for example, if it's meant for the purpose of research, for example, a grant given for research, that could benefit, not only your university, but also to the public, to the country, I think it can be considered. But however, at this stage, it is premature for me to answer anything, but we are taking into consideration. So.
Perfect answer, sir. So before we open the floor, because I'm sure there are many people who want to pose you a question, I wanted to just touch on the launch that you presided over just now, which was the TVET program here at UCSI. For me, one of the greatest developments, especially in higher education, is what's known as micro-credentialing. And that's looking at higher education, not just through the very narrow confines of diplomas and degrees, but also through the ability for us to deliver on-demand education whenever, wherever, and to whomever. And this has an important bearing on upskilling. It has an important bearing on how, as you put it just now in your speech, we create disruptive digital leadership in positioning Malaysia in the great new world of generative artificial intelligence and machine learning. What is your vision as the Minister of Higher Education when it comes to these non-formal tracks of higher education? TVET, micro-credentialing, lifelong learning, upskilling. Is that as important as degrees now?
Precisely, because we have been emphasizing, in fact, a study being done over the last few years on the importance of TVET, even high TVET. That's why you can see the demand for IPTA or our public university is now a bit dwindling due to the cost of there are so many offers in TVET. So what government is planning now is to come up together. That's why with all the relevant agencies, I think you're fully aware of that. Several ministries have been undertaking their own TVET programs according to the ministry need. But actually, what we have spent, even the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned, based on our calculation, we have spent 6 billion a year, allocated to different ministries on TVET alone. So it's high time now for us to bring all these TVET programs together under the one council headed by the Deputy Prime Minister, and we are pursuing this and to identify the new era, especially in the area of AI. Okay. And the Prime Minister has been talking about this repeatedly. And one of the things he asked me to do is to go now into AI. He said, Zambry, you have no time, go into AI. Because, KJ, when I was in the UAE together with him, one of the places he wanted to visit was these AI universities in UAE. He found out such amazing facilities available there, and that even the aim of the university is to make to be the top 10 AI university in the world. That really is kind of giving him some of the urge to quickly go and do it in Malaysia. We cannot be left behind on this, even if you see in any field. In any field, that's why, such as what you are doing now on TVET, it's quite a brilliant idea, it's brilliant move from your side. Congratulations, Datuk Peter.
So we have time for 3 questions. I'm going to take it all at once, and Dr. Zambry will answer all 3 questions together before we wrap up the proceedings for this evening. There are microphones at the center of the ballroom. Please come forward, identify yourself briefly, and ask your question in a very succinct manner, please. So, if I may, if there's anyone who'd like to ask the Minister, please, sir, your name first.
Thank you, YB. My name is Raja Surya. I'm actually from the startup background. And I have one question. Just now you talked about disruptive technology. Great. Let's move forward. But as from the students' point of view, they're trying to get involved into the disruptive technology and from the startup background. And we've been trying to push disruptive technology for last 5-7 years. And we find it the challenge in the disruptive technology or innovation to succeed in Malaysia is the rules and regulation that has been in place for last 50 years. And this has not changed much, which is regulated by the regulators. And they're holding on to this regulation without much input from the startup or the disruptive guy to moving. How the Madani government going to address this? Thank you, YB.
Thank you very much. We get a second question. We'll take 2-3 questions together. Yes, there's a gentleman coming from the right, please, sir. And then the lady at the back. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kaiser from University Putra, Malaysia. I'm just wondering, what is the core value of our education? And what would be your vision on bringing the higher of education in the environment? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good question. And lady at the back, please.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum. I'm Azwin from ASTEAM Networks. So my question is, since it's the first digital skills TVET program in Malaysia, what are the areas in your ministry that you're looking at?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again, please?
Since this is the first TVET program in Malaysia.
First TVET program, okay.
Yeah, so what are the areas that your ministry is looking at?
TVET priorities.
Datuk Seri?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the 3 questions. So the first question was rules and regulations for startups. It's not changed very much, and they find that it's still very bureaucratic. Second was the core value of higher education. What is your central philosophy? And the third is, what areas of TVET would you be focusing on?
Thank you. Thank you for the first question. I think based on the universities, the available information I have with me, actually each university having their own program on startup program. My boss is here, the KP. The only thing is that the only problem we are facing is the first, of course, the amount of allocations to them, but depending on the university. Some university they allocated, a bit high allocation in order to move this program, but others, maybe due to their financial constraint, they couldn't put a large amount of money for these activities. That's one. Number 2, there are other issues as well, because the area of business activity they want to start with, not just what we watched recently and one of the issues they are having in one of the ITM or one of the UITM campus regarding someone wanted to sell such foods or in the store. But we are looking at that, not looking at that alone, but we are looking more than that in terms of the product of the research, for example. How do you want to undertake this project together? What we have identified so far, in addition to financial constraint, it is the marketing issues. It's a marketing issues. So the team now is looking into that. It's possibly in each university, you don't need to have even 100 startup simply because we have the startup program. You can, but you need to identify which area that you really want to look into. I want to inform that in terms of availability of this program, yeah, it is there. You can approach the relevant universities to work with them. But on the question number 2, it's the core values, yeah, the core values of education. That's require a special lecture on that, okay, Jim. But I come back to what the Prime Minister mentioned recently in his address to all members of Ministry of Higher Education. We had a retreat, and then later on during, I think even last week, in the one program in University of Malaya. He said about the need to balance, that is to build your, in our language we call membina otak dan watak. How do you translate that? Membina otak, to build
Intellect as well as character.
And character. Yep. How you balance it. And he also quote this word, menggapai ke langit, bukan menatap, mengakar ke bumi. Again, reaching out the sky and
stay rooted.
Still, grounding. This is in other words, yes, you have to pursue your studies in technologies in all this area of disruptive technology, AI, generative AI, but you must not forget your base. Your moral basis, your moral fiber. This is all very important. It must come along together with your pursuit of higher education, especially in the technology area. So I simplify in that word, because I can give even more than that, because we really want to look into these issues. As much as even if you look at the American universities now, they are suffering from the similar program, similar problems. Harvard as one. Prime Minister always mentioned the book by Harry J. Lewis on Excellence Without a Soul. That's a very famous book some time ago. He wrote about what the Ivy League, one of the renowned university in the world, actually producing. Maybe in terms of IQ, they are good, but outside, when they graduate, after graduating, they are facing their inner struggle, inner crisis. And even the latest book by Howard Gardner on college, all about the college, what is suffering. They study done also in Harvard. Similar issue, similar outcome of the studies shows that how American universities need to have this balanced approach. Go and read Howard Gardner, his latest work on college. Thank you. Oh, sorry, the other one.
TVET.
The other one on TVET.
Yeah.
On
which areas of TVET?
Well, we have assigned one study to be done, to be conducted by this Academy Science Malaysia and under Professor Asma, to help us identify which area that is. And they have already come out to us and they identify the area, especially the microchip, electronic area. That's in a very high demand now. Even to a certain extent, they are projecting for the next 4 or 5 years, Malaysia may require more than 200,000. So we got to be prepared from now. Of course, there are other areas that we will highlight later on after the studies done concretely, because we need to have the latest demand. For example, in the last until 2023. What is the latest figure that in the area that we have to include into the demand? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia is fortunate to have a thought leader, a thinker, a philosopher as their new minister. All the best, sir, in leading higher education in Malaysia so that we can reach for the stars and remain grounded as Malaysians in trying to fashion a future that is well-rounded for all Malaysians. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving our appreciation to Datuk Seri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul Kadir. Thank you, sir.